What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Right Way Sports Network YouTube channel. I am Christian DeBlock, your host, alongside Jacob Aframian, my good friend who also writes for the website. And today we'll be talking about Timo Werner, who has made the switch from RB Leipzig to Chelsea FC in the Premier League, and just what that happens. And Jacob, as a Chelsea fan, will give us his perspective on how he feels about that signing. So yeah, let's just get right started. So currently, Timo Werner is 24 years old. He's a VFB Stuttgart Academy product, made the switch from Stuttgart to RB Leipzig in 2016. And at RB Leipzig, he's been an absolute goal machine. He's doing everything for that team. In 158 appearances, he has 93 goals and 40 assists across all competitions from 2016 to 2020, and will be an absolute great player for Chelsea, I believe. And we're going to try and go through why we think that and where he sets up as a Chelsea product. So, Jacob, what do you think about this signing and how he will be going forward?
Well, thank you, Christian, for having me on. First of all, I'm excited as a Chelsea fan for Werner coming in. I think that he's going to provide a goal-scoring spark that we kind of need, despite the fact that Chelsea at times that we have our spurts where we know how to play attacking football and we can score a lot of goals. There are also times where we go through these droughts where we don't score goals and we don't have consistent striker play. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they wanted to sign him. I think his age is a big factor. The fact that he's only 24 years old and I feel like he's just about to enter the prime of his career is a big necessity. And the fact that he's just so versatile. I mean, he can probably play left wing, center forward, and right wing just so well. And I think that's a massive asset to have. And I can't wait to see what he does in a Chelsea shirt.
Yep. And then another big point, which a lot of people have been talking about and discussing what will happen with the Chelsea front line, is if he can play with Tammy Abraham or Olivier Giroud, depending on which striker. And if he can play with them or he has to replace them, it's kind of just a question that a lot of people are asking. And a big thing for that is he's actually played with somebody that is a big presence up there at RB Leipzig. They have Yusuf Poulsen, who is a little bit smaller than Tammy Abraham. I believe he's 6'4" and Abraham's 6'6". And then you also have Patrick Schick, who is on loan from AS Roma at Leipzig, who is 6'1". But they're pretty similar to the way Abraham plays. So I wanted to get your idea of if you think Tammy Abraham and Werner could play together, or whether you would like Werner as his own center forward.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that I've been thinking about a lot as well. For me, if I was like the manager, if I was Frank Lampard, I would mix it around as much as I could. I wouldn't stick to one thing. I would kind of play with a lot of stuff and see how it goes. As I mentioned previously, I think Werner could play anywhere in the front three. And I think he could play with another striker up top if you had two strikers up top, kind of like what Arsenal sometimes does with Lacazette and Aubameyang. And I think that it would only make them better together. And I also think that with that said, if you could play like Tammy in the middle or Timo on the left or right, that would be fine. And I think that would work. The biggest question with that is how is that going to affect the rest of the team because of how much midfield presence that Chelsea has. They have a lot of talented midfielders many of them are guys that demand playing time because of how good they are. With people like obviously Mason Mount, Ruben Loftus-Cheek who's coming back, Mateo Kovacic, Jorginho, and N'Golo Kante, of course, and a couple others. And all these guys are people that they demand playing time and they need to get on the field as much as possible. And if you add another striker to the formation, that it takes away playing time for one of them. And that's going to be the interesting thing that Lampard is going to have to deal with. It's a good problem to have. It's going to show how good of a manager he is when it comes to making the tough decisions. But yeah, it's really going to be interesting, and I'm really curious to see how that plays out.
Right. And another big point that people are questioning with this signing is the play of Christian Pulisic and how much game time he's going to get. Now, they also signed Hakim Ziyech, which is another big signing from Ajax. Probably going to take up that right forward spot with him being able to cut in on his left foot. That's where he's most utilized for Ajax. So I wanted to get your idea of what you think Pulisic will do going forward, considering how big of a presence he's going to have for the U.S. national team moving forward.
Well, in the case of Christian Pulisic, I think with him, the most important thing for him is, and this has been the case his entire club career, he has to lock up a spot. At Dortmund, there were times, where he had to fight with spots over guys like Marco Reus and I guess like Andre Schürrle at times. I think he was there. And then just as he was starting to get good, Jadon Sancho comes in and he just makes everyone totally forget about who the heck Christian Pulisic is. And I think the big thing for Pulisic is like putting a stamp on his spot in the team. He hasn't been able to do that so far at Chelsea because injuries and people outperforming him. So I think for him, he obviously his position it's either he's either best on the left mid or wing or on the right. He can't play down the middle as far as striker. He just doesn't have that kind of goal scoring presence. They don't need that. And I think for him, the most important thing is trying to like just blend in with whoever he plays with. And I just think he needs to keep being in a good form if he wants to stay on the field. Because also, don't forget, Callum Hudson-Odoi is another big young player that Chelsea feel pretty highly about and is a left winger and right winger who has a lot of skills and is obviously chopping at the bit to get playing time. And then this is not even without mentioning Ziyech, who is like a big signing, spent a good amount of money on him, and he's coming from a club in Ajax who've been really successful and have had Champions League success. So that's going to be another really interesting aspect of Chelsea next year is how they sort that out.
Right. So now with all the forwards they have and all the midfielders, which they seem to now have a full roster in those two positions, to me, at least from somebody that doesn't support Chelsea, I think the next move is to strengthen the defense. Not sure about right back. I think they're good there. Reece James is pretty young. They also have Azpilicueta, who's 30 years old. So they're kind of set there. Now it's really just worrying about center backs and maybe even another left back. I wanted to get your thoughts on what you think is more important and how those will help them get closer to Manchester City and Liverpool in the title race moving forward.
Well, as far as improving our team, obviously, since we feel relatively set in the attacking and midfield spots, the defense, as you mentioned, is, I think, Chelsea's biggest area of need. Our center back play has not been very sharp. It's been good at times this year. It's been very good in spurts. It hasn't been very consistent. A lot of that was Rudiger coming off an injury and Frank Lampard having to go with really young center back pairings of like Fikayo Tomori and Andreas Christensen and Kurt Zuma and like just two of them or whatever. And I feel really good. I feel not really good, but I feel really solid about the right back and left back. More so the right back because of Reece James, who I think is like a young budding star, and I think he's got a lot of potential. And we still have Cesar Azpilicueta, who's like a captain and a great leader and still can benefit for our team. So, yeah, I think Chelsea need to get better center backs because their goalkeeper, Kepa Arrizabalaga, has had a tough year, and it's not really been all his fault when you think about Chelsea's defensive breakdowns. They need someone – I think what they need is someone they kind of need someone that's like at the prime of their career where they're not too old and they're not too young because they need someone that could like be a leader with whoever is Tomori or Christensen that can form a good partnership of like an old and young kind of thing. And I think they'll benefit from that. But they need that if they want to consider themselves a serious title contender.
I agree. So just to conclude this podcast show, Timo Werner is going to be a very good signing for Chelsea, whether he's playing on the left, the center, the right, wherever you want to play him. He's an elite 24-year-old who's got a lot of potential to bring Chelsea back to the title, win trophies, whether it's the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, whatever it's going to be, Chelsea's going to be in a better position as a result of this signing. Now, they're currently fighting for the fourth position in the top four. What do you think that's going to do for Chelsea in the sense of getting Timo Werner Champions League football next year?
Well, I think for their top four sakes, I think they're going to, keep like the third or fourth spot wherever they are now. And I think that for them, the next step is probably pushing for second. I think that should be their next step. I don't think they're ready to win a title yet, with Liverpool still, in a rich vein of form and still lethal. And Man City, I mean, that's going to be the interesting thing, is what happens with Man City because of their transfer ban. They have players that are reportedly considering leaving, especially Leroy Sané, although they have a lot of depth at that spot. But it's going to be interesting to see if they crumble from this ban or not, because they've built something there that is like it's going to be hard to take down. I mean, they won those back-to-back titles for a reason. It wasn't like they did it they didn't do it easy, but they were very deserving from that standpoint. And I think for Chelsea, the goal next year should be to challenge City and Liverpool, the most and try and get third or second, because I think that they need to still establish how good they are. They're a young team. They got a young manager. And I think that's the next step, is just taking a little bit of a step up.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for joining me on this Chelsea show and just talking about Timo Werner. Just stay tuned for more videos on the Right Way Sports Network. Both check Jacob's articles. He also just wrote one about Timo Werner, so that will be on the website as well. But just please like, subscribe, and just check us out for more videos and articles.